Kelvin Harry is a black businessman and also a good chef. He had an urgent call to travel to another state for 2 years to handle one of his projects he's trying to build. He had been working on this project for a long time, and it was finally time to execute it. However, this meant that he would have to leave his restaurant in the hands of someone else for 2 years. Kelvin's restaurant had been his passion for several years, and he had worked hard to establish it as one of the best in the area. He had put a lot of time and effort into creating unique and delicious dishes that kept his customers coming back for more. Kelvin knew that finding someone who would share the same level of passion and dedication as him would not be an easy task. He began his search by reaching out to his network of friends and colleagues in the culinary industry, but he couldn't find anyone that fit the bill. He even considered hiring a consultant to help him find the right person for the job, but he didn't want to spend too much money on it. Kelvin scrolled through his Facebook feed, looking for inspiration for his restaurant's menu. He had been experimenting with some new recipes lately, and he wanted to try something different. As he scrolled down, he came across a cooking video that caught his attention. It was a video of someone preparing a delicious-looking dish that he had never seen before. As he watched the video, he recognized the man's face. It was David Ryan, his old college friend. Kelvin quickly clicked on David's profile, and to his surprise, he found out that David was a chef. He had always known that David was interested in cooking, but he had no idea that he had become a chef. Kelvin immediately sent David a message, and they started chatting. They talked about old times and how their lives had turned out. David told Kelvin that he had been working as a chef for the past 5 years, but he was not happy with his current job. The pay was low, and he was looking for a new opportunity. Kelvin told David that he owned a restaurant, and he was looking for a manager to take care of it while he was away. David was excited to hear this and asked Kelvin to give him more details. After some discussion, Kelvin offered David the job of managing his restaurant. David was thrilled and immediately accepted. He knew that this was a great opportunity for him to showcase his skills and prove himself. Kelvin was happy to have found a competent manager for his restaurant and looked forward to working with David. They decided to meet in person to finalize the details of the job. Kelvin and David met in person to finalize the details of the job. They were both excited to work together, and Kelvin was impressed by David's enthusiasm for the job. Kelvin gave David a tour of the restaurant, showing him the kitchen, the dining area, and the bar. David was impressed by the restaurant's setup and the quality of the food. He was excited to start working and promised to do his best to ensure that the restaurant continued to run smoothly. Kelvin was happy to have found a capable manager and felt confident that he could leave the restaurant in David's hands while he was away. They discussed the terms of the job, including David's responsibilities and the salary he would be paid. They agreed on a fair salary and a flexible work schedule. As David would need to be available to manage the restaurant during peak hours, Kelvin gave David a list of contacts and suppliers he needed to maintain a good relationship with, and he also introduced him to the restaurant's loyal customers. Kelvin assured David that he would always be available to answer any questions or concerns he might have, and they exchanged phone numbers and email addresses. With the details of the job settled, Kelvin handed over the keys to the restaurant to David and wished him good luck. David promised to work hard and make Kelvin proud. Kelvin left for his 2-year project, feeling confident that the restaurant was in good hands. Before leaving for his project, Kelvin decided to hire a secret spy to keep tabs on how the restaurant was doing in his absence. He was worried that things might not go as smoothly as he had hoped, and he wanted to make sure that the restaurant was being run properly. The spy's job was to visit the restaurant every day, order food, and observe how the workers treated the customers. The spy was to take note of any irregularities or bad behavior and report back to Kelvin with a weekly update. The spy was a professional and did his job well. He visited the restaurant every day, ordered food, and observed the workers' behavior. He noticed that everything seemed to be going well at first. The workers were friendly and attentive to the customers, and the food was being served quickly and efficiently. It's been a year since Kelvin traveled, and all of a sudden, David decided to change all the chefs and workers in the restaurant and hired new people, without informing Kelvin. At first, the change seemed to be a positive one, as the new staff were more energetic and appeared to be doing a good job. However, the reality was that the new staff were inexperienced and unprofessional. The quality of food dropped drastically and the service became terrible. David did not pay attention to the fact that the new staff were not trained properly and did not have the right attitude towards customers. He did not have a clear plan or direction for the restaurant and was not supervising the staff. This led to the workers developing their own attitude towards the customers, especially towards black customers. They would insult them, talk to them rudely, and waste so much time attending to them. The spy that Kelvin hired was observing all of these and came back to report his findings to Kelvin every week. The spy would come in the restaurant every day to buy food and observe how some black customers have been treated badly by these workers. Rumors has been going round in the neighborhood about how they treat some black customers bad. And this has made some black people stop coming to the restaurant to eat. The spy's reports were alarming and Kelvin became very concerned about the situation. He could not believe that David had allowed things to get so bad. Kelvin realized that he had to take action immediately to save his restaurant. Kelvin decided that he had to return to the restaurant to see for himself what was going on. He had to find out if the reports from the spy were true. Kelvin had to leave whatever he was doing and come back to see if what the spy said was really true. He visited the restaurant, and no one noticed him because everybody there were new workers and they didn't know him. When Kelvin tried to order his meal, the waiter refused to serve him and kept him waiting for 1 hour. The waiter spoke to him rudely, insulted him for no reason. When Kelvin asked him what he did wrong, the waiter said nothing, that he doesn't like him, and poured Kelvin the food. Kelvin was shocked at the treatment he received and could not believe what he was experiencing. Kelvin had been away for a while and he did not expect such treatment from the restaurant. He could not believe that the waiter could be so rude to him, even though he was a paying customer. Kelvin became angry and wanted to take action against the waiter, but he realized that he had to find out what was going on in the restaurant. He decided to come back the next day to see if the situation would be any different. Kelvin went back to the restaurant the next day and another waiter treated him badly and spoke to him rudely, just like the one who attended to him yesterday. The waiter insulted him, didn't even give him the food he ordered. This made Kelvin so upset and he started shouting at him. The waiter laughed and said Kelvin couldn't do anything. As he was talking, David walked into the restaurant and was shocked at what he saw. David was surprised to see Kelvin upset and asked why he didn't inform him before coming. Kelvin didn't say a word. He was still fuming with anger, his face red with fury. David knew something was wrong. So he asked him again, "What happened? Why are you so angry?" Kelvin finally spoke up. "The waiters in this restaurant treated me badly. They spoke to me rudely, insulted me, and refused to serve me. They even poured the food on my body when I asked them what I did wrong." David was shocked and angry at the same time. He knew that something was wrong with the restaurant, but he had no idea that it was this bad. He asked Kelvin to come with him to his office to talk about it. When they got to David's office, Kelvin narrated everything that happened to him. He also told David about the spy he had hired to keep an eye on the restaurant. David was surprised that Kelvin had hired a spy, but he understood why he had done it. Kelvin also told David about the rumors that were going around in the neighborhood about how some black customers were being treated badly by the workers in the restaurant. David was ashamed and disappointed that he had let this happen. He immediately called all the waiters and workers into his office and started shouting at them about their bad attitude. He told them that Kelvin was the owner of the restaurant and that they had no right to treat anyone badly, no matter their race. The workers were shocked and thought it was all a joke. They didn't believe that Kelvin was the owner of the restaurant. David then showed them Kelvin's ID card and other documents that proved that he was the owner. Kelvin fired all the workers who were involved in harassing black customers from the restaurant and never wanted to see them again. David apologized to Kelvin for what had happened and promised him that it would never happen again. As for David, Kelvin thanked him for all the efforts he had been making to grow the restaurant. But he felt that David had failed to talk to the workers about their bad behavior and didn't even care about the customer. Kelvin felt disappointed that David didn't take responsibility for what had happened. But he knew that it was time for him to take control of the restaurant himself. After the incident at the restaurant, Kelvin decided to start over and rebuild his business. He knew that it wouldn't be easy, but he was determined to make things right. He began by taking some time to reflect on what had happened and what he could do differently. He realized that he needed to be more hands-on with the restaurant and make sure that his employees were properly trained and held accountable for their actions. Kelvin spent the next few weeks searching for new employees who shared his values of equality and respect for all customers. He conducted extensive interviews and background checks to ensure that he was hiring the right people. He also created a new set of guidelines for his employees that emphasized the importance of treating every customer with kindness and respect, regardless of their race or ethnicity. Once he had his new team in place, Kelvin reopened the restaurant with a renewed sense of purpose. He knew that he had a lot to prove to his customers, and he was ready to do whatever it took to earn their trust and loyalty back. He personally welcomed each customer who walked through the door and made sure that their dining experience was nothing short of excellent. The new employees were all trained to be courteous, polite, and professional at all times. They were also taught how to handle difficult situations and how to de-escalate conflicts before they became larger issues. Kelvin made sure that his staff knew that they could always come to him with any concerns or problems, and he was always available to listen and provide guidance. Slowly but surely, the word began to spread about the changes at the restaurant. Customers who had been turned away before returned and were pleasantly surprised by the new atmosphere. They praised the new staff and commended Kelvin for his efforts to turn things around. As more and more people returned to the restaurant, Kelvin knew that he had succeeded in his goal of rebuilding the business. Kelvin's dedication and hard work paid off, and the restaurant became more successful than ever before. It was a true testament to the power of hard work, determination, and the importance of treating everyone with respect and dignity. Kelvin's experience taught him that success is not just about making money, but also about making a positive impact on the world around us. What lesson did you learn from this story? Leave a comment below this video. Thanks for watching.